that's a big why for me. I got a super sweet email from a lady today, and she's like, hey, I feel like there's not a lot of positivity out in the world, so I just wanted to email you and tell you, like, you are literally giving me back like 8 to 10 hours of my week every week. She's like, you've literally like changed my life and my husband's life, like, and like I fucking almost bawled, dude. Like I was definitely crying, and like that's so helping people, man, for real. Like that's what I think. Making people happy with food is in my Instagram, like personal bio. Like that's literally all it says. It's just making people happy with food, and that's it. I like making people happy by making them food.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome to What You Don't Hear. It is time to get to know somebody a whole lot better. This is a life podcast. It's an open journal dive into people's lives as I sit and I uncover the real story behind my guest journey, finding out what makes them who they are, talking about all the ups, all the downs, all the thoughts and feelings in between as we dig into the parts of their story that, well, we otherwise wouldn't get to hear. I am your host. My name is Ross Tyson. I'm a creative of many kinds, a maker of many, many, many things. And hey, here's a reminder up front really quick to make sure that you're subscribed to this show on whatever platform that you're checking this out on right now. It helps out a whole lot, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or my personal YouTube channel. Find that like or follow button. Hit it if you would be so kind and you want to help out. And if you really like the show and want to keep up a little more up to date to see what's going on, and you want to make sure you don't miss any of it anywhere, you can follow us around social at WYDH Pod. And listen, I get it. You hear these things all the time from every creator that you scroll by of every kind, every single day. But we got to ask you these things because it truly does stack up and help a whole lot more than you may think. So if you dig what I'm doing here, if you like the show, you like these stories, please hit a like button or a follow button or leave a rating and review somewhere. It'll go a super long way. The support does go a very long way in helping me continue to make all of these creative endeavors happen, and of course share these stories to more eyes and more ears. And speaking of support, I am lucky enough to have some direct supporters for this show and this episode in particular in the form of sponsors, so I've got a few of those to tell you about right now, and then we're going to get into this week's conversation. All right, first up, this episode is brought to you in part by Promo West Productions. So if you live in or around the Columbus, Ohio area and you're interested in catching a live show, going and getting that live music experience, and just getting out there and going to a concert before the winter months totally take over. I mean, who knows really when that is at this point. Winter has shifted seemingly like 2 or 3 months later than they used to be. But if you want to get out there, still enjoy a live show, and you're wanting to know what's coming to town and when, via Promo West, well, right now they've got Don Felder at Kemba Live coming your way on December 19th. Drive-By Truckers are stopping at Newport Music Hall on Saturday, January 25th. Two Friends play at Kemba Live on February 11th. No idea what two friends, maybe two of my friends. Could be two of your friends, or I'd imagine it's probably a group of musicians named Two Friends that are probably fairly good at what they do. But they're playing February 11th at Kemba Live, and then Holvey plays at Newport Music Hall on February 23rd. Folks, we are talking about 2025 dates here for Promo West. So if you want to grab any tickets to any of those shows, all you got to do is jump to AXS.com. Or, as always, for more information on these or any other upcoming concerts, if you want to know who's coming to town and when, well, you can find all that information that you need over at promowestlive.com or simply follow them online at promowestlive. This week's episode is also sponsored by CrossFit Gahanna. Yes, you've likely heard me mention this gym many times in the past if you're an avid listener of the show. And that's because this gym is the gym that I call home nearly 7 days a week at this point. And it's also, fun fact, where I met this week's guest. But of course, we'll get to that in the conversation in a little bit. But I've called this gym home, like I said, for, about 7 days a week now for pretty much 4 years and counting. And listen, folks, I know the initial thought when you hear something like this, it's Ross, you want me to come do CrossFit? Listen, I can't do backflips holding a barbell. Well, guess what? Neither can I, and truly I've never seen anyone in there do that because CrossFit is not what you see on ESPN, folks, at least not at CrossFit Gahanna, where the whole focus is not on crazy weightlifting and gymnastics moves for everybody, but on functional fitness and a supportive community, and one that I absolutely love. When I tell you that if I can do CrossFit, anyone can, you should have seen me when I started out, right? It's not about being the most skilled, the strongest, the fastest, the EST of anything. It's just about putting the effort in to truly try and better yourself. And yeah, I wasn't great at the things that I was doing. I was incredibly out of shape when I started this. I've shared that story on this podcast before. So you'd have your proof of CrossFit is for literally anybody by seeing me started out a few years ago. But when I say that, it truly is for everyone, and this gym has something for everyone. Truly all ages and all skill levels are welcome in the doors. They're open Monday to Sunday at different times, ranging from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. with tons of all levels classes, ready for anyone to join in at any time. Really, guys, I could probably make this ad an entire episode long telling you how great I think this place is. And while I think it's important in general for us to all be moving our bodies more and for us to take control of a fitness journey of some kind, but I implore you to simply go and find out for yourself. They're located in, you guessed it, Gahanna, Ohio. So stop in anytime. If you do, tell them that Ross sent you their way. You'll probably get some VIP treatment, I'd say. Or hey, just DM me and ask me when I'll be there and come in while I'm there. Let me help you ease into it. Let me be the bridge that gets you in there. I am super down if you are. But in general, for more information on everything that I mentioned and tons of more details that I did not, you can visit CrossFitGahanna.com or simply follow them online at CrossFitGahannaOH. Okay, everybody, I can't overstate how fun this episode is. Just flat out, it's a blast. It's a conversation that touches on a lot of stuff. It's a bit all over the place with like so many hidden gems of conversations in here with one of the best humans that you will 100% walk away from this episode wanting to be friends with. So this week's guest is your new best friend and mine, Jon Paton, who is the creator and owner of the meal prep company FitFresh. So not only is FitFresh an incredible company with incredible food, but also incredible values behind the business and how it's operated that you will hear directly from Jon himself as he shares plenty about that in this conversation. This is one of those episodes that I will label a feel-good episode. Jon just has such an energy about him that he brings to literally every interaction that I've ever had with him, at least. And just ever heard him have in general, to be honest. And I love that we got to capture that energy here for the podcast. When I say we talk about everything in this one, we really do. Because within uncovering Jon's story behind the creation of FitFresh, we talk about everything around, under, behind, and in between that. And it is seriously such a fun conversation. I'm not even going to tease out what all we talk about here, because truthfully, I can't even remember half the stuff. To be honest, I just know it was all good and it was all super fun. I will just say that Jon is genuinely one of the good ones. His business rules, his purpose and intention behind the business, and his goals with it rule. Goals rule. That's a really hard thing to say that close together. Goals rule. I mean, it was just Halloween recently. That still fits. But his goals behind this business really, really do rule. And simply just this conversation rules. That's all I can say. So let's dive in. You can find it all out for yourself. Here it is, episode 124 with Jon Paton. Things are so strange.
They're very odd. It's a wild time. When I moved back to start the business, I moved into Lake Club at Polaris, champion property. Cheap, clean, great. I actually love them. I'll plug for them. They're that good. One bedroom.
They're not sponsoring this episode.
They're not. Never mind. I take back everything I said. But I got into a one-bedroom apartment for $800 a month, like out the door, everything. Wow. That same apartment right now, I think it's like $1,300.
Absolutely.
It's been 4.5 months or 4.5 years. Like what?
Yeah, my rent for my one-bedroom apartment, very small. Loved it.
Sure.
Absolutely loved it. It started at $975.
Sure.
Which I was like, whoa, cool, great, awesome, whatever. Sick. And now I pay in total $1,600.
Sure. And you just found that extra, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars laying around on the ground.
It's actually really amazing. Yeah, I walked outside one day, a leprechaun hopped out of a bush.
Yeah.
And said,
Here's some gold. Take this with you.
You have gold.
The people that purchased your property need a third yacht. Let's get them that extra money.
Yeah, things are just tough for the rich people. And I think
that's
hard. What this episode should really be about.
Oh, God, please don't make me say these things on camera.
How tough things are for rich people right now.
I don't think you understand my rants that I'll go on. And like, I got a couple buddies that are a little bit more conservative, and I love them as long as they don't say crazy stuff, which I'll shut down immediately. But, like if we start talking about human rights, I won't let them say dumb shit, and let them know that they're crazy and awful people for trying to control others. But no, it's been wild to watch the last 4 or 5 years kind of as this country, and specifically, strangely, Columbus, Ohio has come out of the pandemic, and everything has what feels like doubled in price for everybody. It's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, I look all around me, and folks that, were killing it 2 years ago, like you said, I mean, they've seen their cost of living dramatically increase. And it's, at the expense of Kroger posting record profits and make billions of extra dollars. And then you talk to their workers and they're like, yeah, our union did a strike and then we got a raise to $13 an hour.
And a pizza day once a month.
And you do the math on $13 an hour in Columbus. I'm like, what did you dig a hole somewhere and you're living underground? Or you literally, as a 26-year-old, you have to have 3 or 4 roommates.
Right.
Right. And it really breaks my heart because it's not sustainable. Right. And it's one of those things where you're kind of watching the world around you not make any sense. Oh, Kroger posts record profits, blah, blah, blah. And half the people are struggling to make ends meet and literally have to make weird choices like, am I only going to eat rice and beans? You know what I mean? Or
right.
Whatever. I mean, we can go on and on and on. It's, housing, obviously garbage right now. Groceries, anyone who gets a dividend of a grocery company anywhere in America should feel very bad about themselves. I mean, over the last year specifically, it's been wild.
Yeah.
Concerts. Like small bands that we all think we're cool because we like the smaller bands. Like you used to be able to get a ticket to a small band a couple years ago for like $15-20. And I would be super pumped for the band itself if they were the ones getting the money. You can't go to a show anymore for 2 people for less than $180.
It's legit insane. Yes. And then the bands are posting on social like, another McDonald's burger tonight because that's all we can afford.
Or hey, like our van, we need tires. And tires for our van are going to be $2,800 because that's a number that's real.
Something that's confusing to me is there's never been a band in history who's ever purchased a touring van and it ever has worked.
Ever.
Can we talk about, is there a conspiracy?
Who's making these vans?
Exactly.
Who's making?
I feel like whoever's making Boeing planes now they got their start in band tour vans.
Yes.
Because I've never seen a band in my life buy a van and make it through day 2 of tour without it exploding on the side of the road.
We're actually going to switch the subject of the podcast over from that to proper van maintenance for bands. I feel like some preventative maintenance would really go a long way. But no, I mean it's just the state of the world right now, and what everything costs is crazy town. And I feel like everyone's disposable income is just shrinking and going away, and it's kind of wild. I mean, I haven't raised my prices in over 2 years, and my friends are like, holy shit, man, how are you still only charging this? I'm like, well, I'm paying myself less because I own the business. And so, I need to take more care of my people. I've given all of my people, everyone's gotten at least one raise in the last 6 months, I believe, if not multiple, given certain situations. And, I'm constantly paying attention to cost of living. My friend's like, oh, you can't do that. You got to make more money and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yo, I can pay my rent. You know what I mean? And I lead a pretty cool life, and, I'm saving for the future and blah, blah, blah. I consider myself very lucky, but it's been crazy. I'm paying my folks what a couple years ago I would have been like, hell yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you guys are out here, and I'm paying them pretty great freaking money. You know what I mean? So they can stay afloat, and it breaks my heart. It's wild.
Has that been super difficult? Like sitting and being like, I'm able to pay these things and do these things, and everyone else is like, what are you doing? Like, is that secretly insanely difficult? Or are you like, no, actually, if you just kind of pay attention to things, you can make it work?
Well, and that's one thing that that's why I speak so strongly about, enormous businesses like Kroger that are just making absurd amounts of money hand over fist, and then I'll be like, oh, well, the net margins are pretty low, and it's like, oh yeah, bud, you know what I mean? Like, oh, are they low? Are they small? Figure it out. No, it's actually the easiest thing, and I really don't want to, like, I'm not saying this to toot my own horn. I'm saying this from a position of, it makes me sick that more folks don't think this way. is it's like I literally wouldn't be able to do what I do without my folks, right? Like without my staff. And I want, like, for me, the biggest point, like my biggest flex, my friends ask me, they're like, what's the best part about owning a business? And I love my friends. They don't talk like that.
I was going to.
But they like, what's the best part? And it's that I pay my people really well, right? Like that the ones that need the health insurance, I pay 50% of it. And it's such good health insurance that my insurance broker every year when we renew goes, you could save a lot of money if you had a higher deductible. And I'm like, well, then what would the fucking point of health insurance be, Bill? No, we're going to have the lowest deductible for my folks. I think it's like, if something crazy happens to them, I think it's like $2,500 out of pocket. And he's like, well, why? And I'm like, well, if something that bad happens, the last thing I want my fucking crew thinking about is how they're going to come up with whatever $10,000 deductible you guys have decided is legal, which should be illegal, and you're all crooks.
Right.
But yeah, so, that's paying my people well is to me a no-brainer, right? The better I pay my people, as long as I'm holding them to standards that we set and blah, 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 and they're performing, I mean, they're going to be less stressed. They're going to show up for work every single day. They're going to feel comfortable asking for time off if they need it because, they're not missing out on that day's paycheck, things like that. Like, it's all, to me, I wish more of the world ran on those principles. And I really feel like we've sold everyone's future out for shareholders. And, I'm not sitting here saying that the shareholder model isn't viable. Obviously, it's gotten this country to really cool places. And that's how the world economy works. I'm not sitting here saying, we should take, stockholders away and blah, blah, blah. But I think, letting enormous corporations get hundreds of millions of dollars in bailouts and use the money in stock buybacks and then raise their prices a year later so that the average person can't afford their product or needs their product and therefore has way less money for other things that they need. I think that's the kind of stuff where you have to look at it through a very, like, for lack of an eloquent term, holy shit, duh lens and be like, well, that's obviously not okay. Right.
Yeah.
And then you've literally got these, what I just imagine Mr. Burns. Seriously, I imagine Mr. Burns and a crony like Smithers in a fucking giant boardroom somewhere being like, yes, take that hundreds of millions of dollars from the people and then give it to our friends. But I mean, that's like literally what's happening now.
Yes.
Like actually. And when it's, I feel like in our history, I'm 38, how old are you? 31, so similar enough in age, but we've just kind of watched, before it always seemed like it was like one sector of the economy at a time was being super greedy, right? Like, the chicken prices have gone way up, chickens quadrupled, or, the housing market, blah, and blah, blah, blah. Hey, this one thing's really expensive, but I feel like in the last year, it's been everyone was like, well, fuck. We're all going to get away with it at the same time.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
Do you think it ever goes the opposite way, or do you think we are literally just going to continue going insane and somehow everything explodes?
I think you just kind of answered your own question in a way. You know what I mean? I think until everyone gets together and it's like, what the fuck? No.
Because you know what I mean? Things can't get more expensive than they are now, or literally things can't operate.
You think that?
I think that.
Knock on wood. Yeah. I thought that 2 years ago, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was looking at home prices, I was like, there's no way you can charge more than that. I mean, but no, I think we really all are going to have to kind of get together and say, if only there was this thing where you could all, as a country, get together and voice your opinion every 4 years or 2 years or whatever, and then the people that you chose could then go and represent their constituents instead of enormous corporations. That would be cool. I feel like that would be.
That's not a bad idea.
And then,
if
like,
we tried something like that,
they would all get together and say to us, like, "Hey, what's really important to you guys?" And we'd be like, "Well, we're being costed out of existence in our own city, state, whatever." And then they would go pass legislation without only making laws that benefit these enormous billionaires that are donating shitloads of money to their political campaigns. Then I think that would really help even it out.
You know what? If we develop that right now, I think each of them should have a specific color that they're associated with.
Red and blue.
Branding.
Just throwing it out there.
That's simple.
Yeah,
good branding.
Colors that everybody knows. Yeah.
I also, hear me out. I know you just tossed out some really good stuff, but I think we should spice it up a little bit. what if we let idiotic reality TV stars
Let's go.
do those things,
Oh,
and
that makes
terrible business people?
perfect sense.
And then also people that are on their deathbed,
Yes.
who could maybe do well but can't comprehend what's
Super
going on
old.
outside.
Yes.
I think if we do something like that, though, the age limit needs to be like, they need to be old as fuck.
Just what about an age minimum? Like unless you're 97, you can't
Yeah.
run. And then we just put a microphone in front of you and let you mumble.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
It's really good. I think it's done really well for all of us over the last 15 years.
Wait a second. Does that already exist?
Sorta. Yeah, no, it makes me sad. But I think you're right. I mean, you brought up a great point. It's like, how much worse can it get? You know, when rent is... What did they released the numbers the other day? Tim, only in C-Bus, is really good about sharing a lot of stuff like this. Shout out to Tim. Stop running Top Dog ads, please. I love you. You need to be making a minimum of $25 an hour to afford a fair market rent apartment in Columbus.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what fair market rent means, and I'm sure there's 11 of them, and they're heavily guarded by people waiting in line to sign up for them next. But like $25 an hour.
Yeah.
To survive. And again, folks, I was born and raised here. I love Columbus, Ohio so freaking much that I moved back here after living in Madison, Wisconsin, Chicago, Illinois, sadly, a little bit in Iowa. Don't ever go there. It's actually a beautiful place and the people are wonderful. But like, I love Columbus, Ohio, but this is Columbus, Ohio. A mediocre 2-bedroom apartment should not be $2,000, especially not if it's especially not if it's in a neighborhood that we just gentrified and the apartment is overlooking an enormous freight railway. That should not be $2,000 a month.
Right, and everything in the apartment's plastic, so it was made for as cheap as humanly
Yes,
possible.
and there's no insulation at all, and you can hear your neighbors opening a box of cereal.
Yes.
Like you can't. We need to stop. We need to tell these folks that are building these, I'm sorry that you're only going to make $48 million on this project instead of the 70 that you want. We need places to live, please. Like, that's what, like, I feel like there's a responsibility, right? Like, I am going to go into business building real estate for people to live in. Okay, there's going to be some ebbs and flows there. You're going to need to, there needs to be a minimum you're going to do. And what you and I just described is not, I feel like that's not.
No.
Following, like you're not, like you've let greed take you to a point where you're
A conversation that I've been having often recently
Sure.
is how much of an asshole do you, and this is going to sound funny, but I genuinely mean it, how much of an asshole do you really have to become to get really, really successful? Like, and I don't mean that in the case of
Sure.
anybody who's ever been successful
Sure.
is a terrible person. I don't mean that exclusively. Things are not always black and white.
Yeah, of course.
But I think we could sit and give, just like we've been talking about, of like all these, like the millionaires, the billionaires, the people, and maybe not even millionaires, just like super, super successful people.
Sure.
There's always these things that are like, yeah, that person used and abused a lot of people,
Sure.
and they have a terrible reputation, but they're rich. And I feel like that kind of runs rampant now. Like, do you think? Because,
Sure.
like I said, I've been chatting with this with a lot of people about this lately. Like, do you think you have to be a major asshole to actually make it?
To be a billionaire, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's like, do the math on acquiring $1 billion. Like what? Like I do the math on paying yourself $300K. I don't even come close to that.
Yeah,
first of all,
what if I just wanted like $100,000 a year? Do I have to be an asshole
no,
for that? You think?
not even fucking close. Well, and that again, that's kind of why I have the stance I have. I have some of my previously mentioned buddies who are like, the more you pay yourself, the more money you get, the more conservative you're gonna get. And I'm like, no. The more I have, the more I want to share it, y'all. Because society
what I thought. Like,
fucking sucks.
I'm literally not to interrupt you, but like,
Sure. No, please go ahead.
I literally every single time I think about like gaining more success, more power, more money, whatever, I'm like, and I'm sure anybody could look at this, but like, that's how it always starts, pal.
Sure. In
But
that voice,
genuinely,
actually.
yes. I'm like so certain that if I gained the power that I want, I literally would use it for good.
Yes.
And I know that I can stick to that because back when I was like 16 years old and I was like straight edge and didn't drink and didn't do anything, everyone was like, that'll last, pal.
Right.
And guess what? I still don't drink and I still don't smoke and I still don't do anything. So I know
Good for you.
I know I can commit to the good, safe
You're
thing.
just raw dogging
Life.
You're raw dogging this experience currently, which we've had 900 major historical events, in your
Today.
31 years. Yeah, or in the last 5 years. That's good for you. No, but I mean, that was always it, and I probably could have told you that when I was 19. And again, it's going to sound like I'm this like holier than thou. I'm not at all, y'all. Like I have a great time. I enjoy myself. I spend way too much money on food and alcohol. It's all this kind of stuff. But for me, it was always like, hey, I want to run a business to help fix stuff. Like, I mean, a quick background for me, I was born and raised in Columbus. I hated school. I went to I was born on the not Murfield side of Dublin, Columbus, Texas. Dublin schools, as every realtor will tell you. The Kaufman kids called us river rats. So, I had a very nice, pleasant upbringing because my parents worked their butts off, but we weren't, silver spoon by any means. I had tons of privilege growing up where I did, a white male in Dublin, Ohio. Like you literally can't ask for better. Hated school, I was working 35, 40 hours a week at Iaconos, La Scala. Just knew I wanted to be a chef. And I hated school so much, I ended up having to take a summer math class at, Fort Hayes downtown. And I walked in, and keep in mind, the only schools I've ever been to was Chapman Elementary, Davis Middle School in Scioto. We had a $1 trillion theater wing at our high school. And I walk into Fort Hayes and I look around, I'm like, what the fuck? Are you guys good? Why is it 100 billion degrees in here? And they're like, we don't have air conditioning. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it literally blew my mind. Like, actually, I was like, holy shit, I got to do something. Like, someday, I don't know what it's going to be. I'm going to figure out a way to someday give back and blah, 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 because we have to even this out. You got folks out in New Albany that have an Olympic-sized natatorium in their high school. And then there's still, I think when I checked last year, I think there were still 12 Columbus public schools without AC, and it's 2024. So, and the fun part is all of the parents in New Albany, Olentangy, Dublin, they own a bunch of commercial real estate and residential real estate down in the neighborhoods where Columbus public kids go, and they don't pay any fucking taxes on it because we gave them tax abatements to buy them and gentrify them, right? So it's just this brutal cycle. So anyway, I went to OU for 2 years, drank myself silly every day because I didn't want to be there. Moved to Chicago, became a chef. And when I was a chef in Chicago, I mean, I would work 40 hours a week for maybe 35 grand and then work another 40 hours a week for free at the nicest places that would take me because I wanted to learn. I mean, I really did. I wanted to get that knowledge. I wanted to be the greatest chef that's ever lived. And after 5 years, I became a chef. I was running a taqueria called De Cero on Randolph Street, building still empty to this day because went out of business 5 years ago because the owner, Angela, was the worst. The last day I was a chef, I went to her and I said, Ange, I need you to pay me more money or I'm going to die, because she was paying me 34 grand and I was working about 85 hours a week.
Okay.
And this is in 2012. And she said she couldn't afford to pay me any more money and got in her 3-week-old top-of-the-line Range Rover on dubs.
Hey, come on,
and
struggling.
And drove home to her horse farm in St. Charles. And the next day I hopped on a mega bus and went down to St. Louis and just got schmammered with my friends for 3 weeks. And that was the last day I was a chef in restaurants in Chicago. And so that's one of the reasons, like, that was just hammered home for me. I'm like, we need to, like, if I'm going to run a business, I need to be a responsible business owner. And to me, that's part of it. Not being a slumlord, not being that restaurant owner that's paying everybody $3 or $4 an hour or under the table or blah, blah, blah. Like, I am going to take really good care of my folks. And that's what, like, gets me up in the morning. And, like, honestly, that's what motivates me to grow, because the more meals we sell and the bigger we get, the more I can pay my crew and the more folks I can go, for lack of a better term, rescue from low-paying, shitty jobs and be like, hey, you've been kicked around your whole life and you're a hard worker and you're smart and no one's ever given you any reason or incentive to, like, want to kick ass and flourish and get pumped about coming to work every day. Come work with us. And that's what drives me, and it's fun as fuck.
Let's talk about that drive. Let's talk about Fit Fresh.
No.
Yep.
No.
We're talking about it.
All right.
That's what you're here for.
All right. After I just said, like, the most incendiary shit of all time. Sweet. Cool. Let's go.
Nope. Tell me. So, I mean, you go from being a chef to going to, okay, I want to be a good business owner. I want to take care of people. I want to build something.
Sure.
Tell me the story.
Oh,
How does
God.
Fit Fresh begin?
So after I was a chef, I went and I was a chef at, like, a catering company for about a year in DeKalb, Illinois, home of the NIU Huskies. Tell you what, shout out DeKalb. I'm sure you're all listening.
Hey, Huskies, let's go.
Let's go Huskies. Great, super nice folks. And then Hy-Vee, this giant grocery store company, came to town and opened, and all my friends like, oh my God, you have to go work there. Got a job there as a chef. They had no idea what that meant. They wanted me to like grill pork chops and try and sell pork chops and stuff. It was silly. So I did that for a little bit. I had a good time. We did like private dinners. We'd sell ticketed dinners. We'd do 50 people, like 5 or 6 courses, $50 each, which out in DeKalb, Illinois is $1 million. And we sold them out. It was really fun. And I met a lot of wonderful people I'm still friends with on Facebook to this day. Bob Roof and his wife, Barb, just had their 40th wedding anniversary. And I got to say congrats to them. They used to come to every dinner. They're awesome. But anyway, so I did that. Then I was a salad bar manager. Then I realized, hey, I think I could run grocery stores. This is fun. And it makes my ADHD brain go crazy. And it's really exciting. And you get to take care of a lot of people, right, when you run a grocery store. So worked my way up, kind of moved all around the Midwest, ended up in Madison, Wisconsin. Was the last place I worked, and that was a lot rougher market because it was really on the edges of Hy-Vee's territory, so it wasn't like automatic that everybody in the town just shopped at Hy-Vee. There was a ton of competition. They wouldn't pay anybody more than $13 an hour. Costs in Madison were really high, and I got pretty disenfranchised. And I may have pissed off my store director at the time, and he ended up kind of firing me out of the blue 6 days after Thanksgiving, which was really fun. Fired me for some crazy made-up stuff. And I had a bunch of buddies reach out to me, and they came in, come work at my store. I had actually just finished store director training. It's like a year-long crazy thing. You go to corporate every month, and they train you how to be a store director. And so I had friends reach out, like, hey, come work at my store until you get your own. And I was like, no, I think it's time to start the thing. And I was either going to move to St. Louis or Columbus. I have a bunch of buddies in St. Louis, and I moved back here. And I'm very glad that I did. And I started cooking for 4 of my buddies out of my apartment. And the pandemic hit, and they said to me, hey, we've been telling everyone at work about this thing that you do, and they're all really excited. They've asked about the meals. Can we tell people that they can order? And I said, absolutely not. This is illegal what I'm doing. I'm cooking out of my kitchen at home. This isn't a licensed kitchen.
That's illegal?
Cottage laws don't extend to what I do. Cottage laws, specifically in Ohio, like baking is fine. Some jams and jellies, as long as you don't like vacuum seal them in the jars and stuff, are okay. Cookies, things like that. Cake decorating, that's all okay out of your house. But in terms of like prepared heat and eat foods, that is not covered by cottage laws. You can tell I did lots of research.
I had no idea any of that was a thing. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but I wouldn't have never thought about that.
Yeah, and I'm crazy paranoid about food safety. But so they, being my best friends, I told them, no, don't tell anyone. They told everyone.
Perfect.
So great. I got 20 phone calls in one day and text messages and emails. So I built a website on Squarespace myself. It is the same website we use today.
I love that, actually.
So if you have any bugs that you find in the website, tell me, and I will try and fix them. But we've done 32,000 orders through the website since literally the week everything shut down. I rented commercial space like that same week. I sublet it from a buddy of mine from high school that I was kind of trying to help get a quick service pho concept off the ground, and we couldn't do anything anymore. And I said, I think I can do this.
Sorry, I thought you said quick service fuck concept, and I was like,
hey, you never know. It's 2024.
I mean, yes.
Quick service pho with the noodle soup.
Pho concept.
Vietnamese.
You can't say pho concept too quickly.
I talk way too fast. I spoke more Spanish than English for like 2-3 years, and it never.
Really?
Yeah, the speed never went away. When I was in Chicago, I was like the only white guy in almost every kitchen. So I would act, and I took it starting in middle school, and then I took it even in college. That was one of the only classes I would actually go to. And then I was always in kitchens, even in high school. So I spoke.
I'm jealous that you paid attention to Spanish in high school. I wish I did. Nowadays, I'm like trying to get in on a Duolingo streak.
Sure.
I get like 30 days in. And I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
And then I fall off for a year, and then the owl is very upset with me.
You have to immerse. I mean, the only reason I fucking learned it. School was nice. My teachers were wonderful. Shout out to Karen Kendallsbury. She still orders every week. I love her. She was one of my Spanish teachers in high school.
That's awesome.
Oh my God, she's the sweetest lady ever. She just makes me smile every time I see her. But until you immerse yourself in it, you can't.
Yeah, you were in an environment that literally it was like
I had to.
Yeah,
like I was forced to, and it made me better. And I will tell you, one of the things that why I rally so hard against for social causes and things like that is I've heard people make fun of Central American folks for trying to speak English, and their second language English is damn near better than a lot of the stuff I see. You know what I mean? And it's like, hey, at least they're trying. And they'd always come to me and be all embarrassed, like, oh, I don't want to speak English. And I'm like, Alfredo, your English is
Dude, it's
fucking awesome.
literally it's your second language. You're speaking it.
You could
Like,
go
you're
get an
good,
office job, bro. Like
It's
you're
fine. Yeah,
fine.
You're good. You're good.
So yeah, I moved back and started this, and it's been an insane ride. I mean, shout out to anyone who's ever ordered food, helped me make it, helped me deliver it. It's been wild, and it's so weird. You never think about it. It's so hard to like step back and really look at the big picture and like even appreciate how far you've come, because you're just always thinking about 2, 3, 10 steps down the road. And I really do. I mean, all I'm ever really thinking about is, hey, how can I pay my folks more money? Hey, can we bring somebody on? Hey, can we buy that piece of equipment? Hey, is the food quality just as good as it was 2 years ago, even though we're doing twice as much, and blah blah blah. But it's been really cool, man. It's fun, and I use it really as a vehicle for social change. I mean, I mentioned I hated school, and so what I do for the last couple of years is our commercial kitchen is actually in the neighborhood I grew up in, right around the corner from my high school, and I pick two different Dublin high schools every year, and I feed the entire staff for free, janitors, lunch, anybody, and I literally use it as an opportunity to apologize to my teachers and say thank you for putting up with my ass, and that the extra work that they put into me actually, they created a human that is semi-useful for the environment.
Yeah.
And one of them, I mean, literally, she tried to get me expelled. Like, I tried to get her fired. She was maybe 22, 23, and she was a physics teacher, and I think math is made up. Mm-hmm. So I have no idea why I was in fucking physics class, so shame on me. But I mean, we hated each other. And she was... This past year, I fed Kaufman, and she was the third person through the door. And we both stopped and turned beet red and and I was like, I am so sorry. And her and all of her buddies burst out laughing. They're like, she told us this would happen. She remembers you, and we had a great laugh. And I said, I'm so sorry for what I put you through. And she was like, honestly, I'm sorry. It was my first year teacher. She's like, if I would have had you 3 years later, she's like, we would have had a blast. She's like, I would have made fun of you. Like, it was very cool. It was incredibly cathartic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like you don't know you're carrying that, right? Until the lady walks through the door and you're like,
yeah, of course.
Shit. But it was cool. I got to give her dinner for the day. We bring a meal for every teacher. And we coordinated with the administration, and we literally just bring how many staff we got, 180. All right, I'm bringing 190 meals just in case. And we set up in the teacher's lounge, and they filter through. Normally, they try and do it on like a conference day, so they have something like to eat that's good at the school. So yeah, we do that stuff. We try and feed folks from underserved communities whenever we can, because that's important. I kind of talked a little bit about coming from Dublin and then seeing Columbus Public Schools and what a lot of these folks live with. So yeah, it's been fun, man.
This is
Fit fresh.
a question from just an uneducated. I don't understand how all this stuff works.
Sure.
Like, from a business standpoint, is it hard to do those sort of things? Like, is it hard to have the extra food and all this sort of stuff to be able to give away? Back to even our earlier questions of like, oh, well, it's hard to be nice, pal. You got to be strict, blah, blah, blah. Like, is it?
It's profits. I don't have shareholders. So if you don't have shareholders and you don't care that you don't live in a house in Murfield, it's easier than you think. And I mean, I should have more money in the bank than I do. You know what I mean? Doing this for as long as we have, we've done 32,000 orders. And I'm not here to say, folks who have money and who are great at saving their money and who are bad people. That's not the point. Not what I'm saying at all.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's a lot easier than you'd think, right? And I mean, I'm kind of an idiot when it comes to stuff like that. I'll just say yes. You know what I mean? It's so hard for me to say no to stuff like that. But I will tell you, it is worth every single penny. Like the feeling you get, and I hate cause marketing. I'll tell you that right now. Like I really don't. I don't lead with this stuff. It's not. I don't even think it's anywhere on my website. And if it is, if anyone's clicked on that page, stop it. There's more interesting stuff on Instagram. But it's easier than you think, right? To just I feel like so many people get caught up. It has to be this huge, big, giant thing, right? But like even if you like go take care of I don't know. Something small. Like it doesn't have to be this huge, big sweeping, I'm going to feed every teacher in this high school today. Like it can be, hey, this basketball team, I'm going to go feed them because they don't have shit. You know what I mean? Or, oh, hey, jerseys for that basketball team in the inner city are $300. I got $300. I spent $300 on wine last month. You know what I mean? Like little shit like that. But But yeah, I don't know. I will say it's really cool. I see a lot of folks my age that run businesses. Buckeye Lady's incredible. She gives a ton of money away, and a ton of time and a ton of products. She's awesome. She went to my high school, Alicia Mulkey, Hinman now, but she's incredible. She does that. Cheesecake Girl, I know, has a lot of causes that she really champions, and she's killing it, and she's doing the same thing. Dan the Baker, total badass, our age, killing it, like donating money, like taking care of folks, blah, blah, blah. And that's just here in Columbus, and that's just food businesses that started around the time I did.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I really do feel like our generation was really, and I mean, we had the internet. Like we were raised with the internet, so we were exposed to a much broader painting of the world than anyone before us. So we have that, to kind of credit it. But it gives me hope to see folks like kind of leaning towards that and figuring stuff out. And I think once folks kind of our age really do start getting into politics and legislation and figuring things out, I think a lot of us are it doesn't take a genius to look at, hey, hundreds of millions in bailouts, turn around and do a bunch of stock buybacks and then raise your prices and make record profits. Like, it doesn't take a genius to see that's not the way forward, right? We don't need to they don't need a fifth jet. They don't need a bigger house in the Hamptons, like that stuff. We got to make sure everybody has food. We got to make sure everybody, what is it? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We've kind of gotten away from that for a pretty big part of the population.
I actually think it was live, laugh, love.
Thank you. I'm so the founding fathers.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
They said live, laugh, love.
That's incredible. That's the funniest thing.
I do want to.
So good.
Feel free to use it.
Live, laugh, liberty, dude.
I do want to go back into the transition period because I interrupted you. I said the fuck thing, and then
please interrupt me. I ramble like an idiot.
But I need your rambles. I want your rambles. I like them.
All right.
Take me back to the last thing you said was, you're helping that friend get that brand off the ground, and then you had found a commercial space, and in the middle of that, you had been cooking for people out of your apartment. Blah blah blah. What's the transition like? Like, how do you go from cooking out of your apartment, all of a sudden you're getting hit up by handfuls of people, and then you're like, oh, I should do something about this. I guess I'll start a company. Like, how do you, what is that time period like?
I blacked out. It's a blur. For real, man. I went from cooking for Sam, Kara, Eric, and Ray. Shout out. I love all of you very much. To maybe, I think we picked up probably 10 or 15 clients almost right away. And that was before we were vacuum sealing. We were using very shitty, just from a longevity standpoint. So I'm going to take that back because I love the company we bought them from. They're called Green Paper Products. They're based out of Cleveland. They made a fully compostable bowls and trays. And the owner, his name is Aaron. He is one of the best people I've ever encountered since I've started this business. We would forget to order stuff, and he would put stuff in his car in Cleveland and meet me halfway. Like, just an incredible all-around human being. And again, he gives back a lot and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so we started cooking for about 15, 20 folks. We weren't vacuum sealing. We were doing decent enough business. I hired somebody as soon as I possibly could to help me, so it wasn't just me. And I had kind of known I wanted to do this for a while. I knew I wanted to do something with food. I didn't want to run a restaurant. I still don't. So don't anyone come to me and be like, let's start a restaurant. I will tell you no.
I'll take that question off the list.
Yeah, never. It's the hours are terrible. Your landlord can magically decide to double your rent. Food costs are brutal. Yeah, wild. Just all kinds of stuff. So I knew I wanted to do something with food. I wanted to be able to cook from a bunch of different cuisines because I learned a lot in Chicago. I worked at a bunch of different cool restaurants. I wanted to do something lucrative enough that I could pay my people, but I also wanted them to have really good work-life balance too. And that's kind of where the whole idea from Fit Fresh came from. And I've always really loved science. As it pertains to food, I own really weird science cookbooks and cool stuff like that, and I've always been obsessed by it. And so vacuum sealing had always really fascinated me. So, my very first one was a little Amazon, tabletop side load vacuum sealer people use for like making their own beef jerky.
Okay.
And we were sealing 200 meals a week in it, right? So we were putting them in a vacuum sealed bag and then sealing that, which worked pretty well. And then we eventually ended up upgrading to a chamber vacuum sealer, same concept. And now we have an insanely cool machine. It's so dope, dude.
I think I remember like the week you were getting it or the week after you got it, you stopped in at the gym and you were like, let me tell you about this.
Did I almost look like I was going to die from stress? Because holy smokes, I've never spent $50,000 on anything in my life. And so I was like, holy
You were stressed,
shit.
but you seemed excited about getting it. And you were like, I hope it works.
So dope. It just seals the top. Like you literally put the tray in the machine and it just seals the top.
Yeah.
So there's no spillage, there's no waste. It looks way cooler. I mean, it looks kind of weird because you've made this food and then you put it in this tray, this little, you guys know what I'm talking about, like a to-go container.
Yeah.
And then it just puts this film down on the top and forces all the oxygen out, so it stays fresh in your fridge for like infinite amount of time. Not literally, legally it's not an infinite amount of time, but it's really cool. So yeah, we got that, and in the original space we were in the Destiny Center downtown, right kind of next to, I think it's called the Food Fort, right there off Old Leonard, near OSU East Hospital. And shout out to that crew, that was wild. They were really sweet. Some of the ladies that work there, these sweet little old church ladies, we still text each other, I love you all the time, because they were the best. And it was actually right, that's where I met Josh, the owner of Pretentious, because his building was next to ours, and he's a really good dude, and they just closed Pretentious, and I'm devastated. But yeah, we were there for 2 years. We were in like a 550 square foot kitchen. We were doing, $10,000 in sales. It was fucking bonkers. And we needed our own space. And so I looked for about a year and a half, honestly. All over. Commercial real estate is the fucking worst, as I'm sure you may understand. It's really fun. Just a lot of not full information out there on the internet, and you call people and they're furious that you called them to ask them questions about the listing that they represent, or they don't care, they never get back to you, or the listing has been filled for 6 months, or the owner's going to demolish it for another luxury apartment.
I love
building.
when you're checking out a listing and it's like one crappy picture of like the corner of one room.
Why is it like this?
And I'm like, this shows me nothing.
This shows me nothing, and there's no pertinent information. Like it's like it's the information the realtor wants to know and not the person who wants to rent it, right? It's the worst.
Most of them are just located in Ohio. Mm-hmm. It's like it doesn't tell you where it actually is. Just Ohio.
No pictures. They will tell you how many fucking parking spots it has, though. That's like the top.
Yeah.
You know how many parking spots you have, and it's like punishable by death if you have more than these cars.
It's square footage parking in Columbus, and I'm like, I don't even know how to read square feet, so joke's on you. Again, I couldn't tell you how big or small this place is.
Math is made up; it's not real.
You tell me 100 square feet, I'm like, that's so much. That's incredible. How much? I can do.
How many square feet is that? I'm like doing
what's
with
this
my
room?
arms.
I don't know what the studio is in right now,
bro. For real, no joke. This is basically the size that our kitchen at the Destiny Center was. And we were doing, there was a week, we did so much in business, and I looked at my crew and I was like, holy fuck, I need to go get space.
In this space, you were cooking and packaging everything.
500 square feet.
Wow.
It was bonkers.
Okay.
And it was on the ground floor of this huge mixed-use building. It's what the Destiny Center is, and it's really cool. They have like a church upstairs. They have a couple little businesses that were kind of like basically it was like an incubator, but like you just rented space, and it was really neat. Met a lot of really cool folks. Loved it. And then I found the greatest landlord in the history of the world. Is Corey and Crystal Best. They're the goats. Incredible folks. Very fair. If something breaks, they like actually fix it like almost right away. I've never seen anything like it. They don't charge you a ton of money. They don't triple your rent out of the blue for no reason because they're greedy. They're just the greatest humans, and they give back a lot to the community too. It's a really nice symbiosis working with them. Had to move into that, and we ended up having, because we were moving our facilities, I ended up having to get the most insane special license variants from the state of Ohio to vacuum seal, because it's not explicitly in the food code in Ohio that you're allowed to vacuum seal. And a HACCP does not cover it. So it took me about 6 months of going back and forth with the state of Ohio about getting a very special license before I could even use my new space. So I was paying double rent, which is fine. It's part of being a business owner. It's okay. You absorb those costs. That's how this works, guys. You just pay yourself less when stuff like this happens. You don't raise your prices.
But your jet.
Oh, you're my favorite. But yeah, I ended up getting the special license, and we're like the only ones in the state with a license to do it. And they told me, they're like, we've never given one of these. We'll probably never give it again. They loved us because, we are crazy. Like, when I say I'm nuts about food safety, bro, I'm a crazy person. So, I mean, we've thrown away hundreds of pounds of food if it didn't hit the like federally mandated must be cooled down to this temperature in, X amount of hours, which all the restaurants I ever worked in ever in Chicago, fancy ones, not fancy ones, no one ever. I do. I follow that stuff because if it's in, if the FDA is going to tell you should do it, I'm going to friggin' do it, right?
Right.
So anyway, we got that, and we've been in that space now for coming up on 3 years by the end of the year. And we're going to renew, and we're probably going to have to double our size of our facility in the next couple months because we just expanded to Chicago because it's always been a dream of mine to sell my own food in Chicago, and my mom lives there, so I get to pay myself to hang out with my mom every week because she's awesome. Amazing. So that's the story really fast.
Was there... Talk to me about, and maybe you just didn't look into any of this and you were like, nope, we're doing it. We're going. Who cares? Every single time I think of an idea for a brand, I'm always like, is this so super oversaturated? What else exists? And even though I'm going to say with a caveat
which is smart.
I still am like, if it will bring me joy to make,
yes,
I'm still going to do it. So let me caveat this entire question with that.
Sure.
But I still will look in the space of similar things of like, is there something that's a near carbon copy of my idea and maybe the effort wouldn't really be worth it? What's something else different, adjacent that I can do? Tell me about the market of food prepping in these food companies and stuff. Like, was that a thing that you dug into and you were like, I know I really want to do this and how I can give back, and I don't give a shit who else is doing it, big business, commercial, home chef, all this sort of stuff. Or did you research that stuff and were like, how can I do it differently? How can I walk me through that thought process?
You're really good at this. You should do it for a living. Holy shit, that was such a good question. I hate talking about myself.
Nope,
so I did lots of research, and if people who are bored ask me what advice would you give? And it's literally, there's a line from the movie American Gangster. Denzel Washington's one of the best movies of all time. And the line is, our product is better than the competition's at a price that is lower than the competition's. And that is the advice, is every market is saturated. There is not a single market. We have over-commercialized every fucking hobby. You're not allowed to enjoy something without trying to figure out how to get people to pay you to do it anymore because everything has gotten really expensive. So whatever it is you are passionate about doing, there are going to be hundreds, if not thousands of other people doing that in your state, if not your fucking city. So you literally need to, if there's something you're like, I think I can fucking be the goat at this. I'm gonna crush it. Or even, I think I can be decently good at this. That's fine. You have to separate yourself from everybody else somehow. Mine was, I'm nuts. I did research for a year. A friend of mine in Madison was like, wow, your food's really good. We'd pay you for this every week. And that's literally how I got the idea. Thanks, Jeff, and Rachel. I love you. But I literally did research, and I said, what is everybody else doing bad? And I looked at Factor, I looked at Home Chef, I looked at Blue Apron, which I don't know why we ever paid someone to shittily grocery shop for us, and we still had to do all the cooking and cleaning and shit. I don't know, whatever. Shout out to them. They did fine for a while. But I just looked at everybody, and to me, everything cost what you could just go to a Cameron Mitchell restaurant and get carryout for. I mean, people were charging $15-$16 for what was essentially leftovers because a lot of folks weren't vacuum sealing. And I mean, we vacuum seal within 24 hours of cooking and cooling something, so it's basically about as fresh as it's going to get. But the prices were way off. It was way too expensive. Everything was shipping. I hated that. I mean, I hate waste. So all the fucking coolers and ice packs and boxes and, then you're paying UPS and FedEx, and they're already so freaking busy. They can't keep their heads on straight. So they don't care that it's perishable food. I shipped for 6 months. And let's say I shipped 100 orders, 50 of them sat in a warehouse for 2 or 3 days. So I had to fully refund the client. And then half the time UPS or FedEx wouldn't refund me for the shipping that I paid them, right? So it was brutal. So we literally deliver ourselves every single order, whether it's to a gym or directly to your door. We deliver all of it. But that's it. I mean, look at what everybody else is out there doing. Know your market's going to be saturated, and know that you are going to have to make an absurd amount of decisions every day, every week, every month, every year that separate you. Why should a customer give you their money instead of Home Chef or instead of Factor or instead of whatever. And I will tell you, like, being disparaging about other companies sucks. Doesn't help anybody. You just sound like a hater, right? Like there's 7 or 8 great food prep companies that are local to Columbus. And anytime I was like, have you had this one? I'm like, hell yeah, it's good. It's delicious. I really like this thing that they do, or, hey, this bagel sandwich was a really cool idea. You know what I mean? And blah, blah, blah. Like, it's okay that there are competitors in your space, y'all. That's all right. Like, you don't have to hate on them. Celebrate it, right? So that's it. Just make sure your product is better than the competition's, or at least, similar, and charge a little less and pay yourself less money. And I mean, that's basically it.
So when you, we'll say, officially got up and running, right? Everything's officially launched.
2020.
Clients can start ordering online. We got the Squarespace site up, all that sort of stuff.
I hate Squarespace. It's so bad. Squarespace, if you're listening to this, I need you to fix just all of it.
Literally everything.
Everything. Your customer service is the worst.
I will openly say I cannot stand Squarespace.
I don't know how.
It is awful.
I am literally imagining their customer service to be an old dilapidated barn that is on fire, and there's just a bunch of cartoon characters running around inside screaming and waving their arms around. It's the worst.
Yes.
I can't. I don't. I mean, thank you for letting 32,000 orders go through, the website I built.
Great.
And if I can create a website as a dumb food making guy person, that we're doing okay.
Great testimony for Squarespace also. So, hey, it
might cut out the first part and then just use the last part.
This episode is sponsored by Squarespace. Yeah. Use the code "This Thing Fucking Sucks" to get 50% off your first website.
Customer service.
Yeah.
But no, so we're up and running. Sorry.
Yeah. So you get up and running. What sort of roadblocks did you run into?
Everything.
You start to get going. You're cooking food. We got the space.
Everything
we got the orders,
went wrong.
The website. Tell me about what went wrong. Did anything almost go wrong enough where you were like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done this?
That's a 2-part answer.
Yes.
Yes, and also no. So when you liquidate your 401k and you go after it, you don't have a choice. And that's what I guess, I have a friend that I used to work with in the grocery chain Hy-Vee. He's starting a bagel bakery in the Quad Cities, Iowa. Shout out to Patrick. I can't fucking wait. You're going to kill it. And he literally just asked me that question the other day. He goes, were you scared? What can go wrong? And I was like, everything will go wrong, bro. And you have to go into it your car's going to break down and you're going to be fucked. How are you going to do the deliveries? Your oven's going to break and you're going to have to push back production 2 days. How are you going to figure that shit out, right? You have 4 employees and 3 of them call in on a day. It's just you today, bud. All of it will happen. You have to be okay with that. You have to know that's going to happen going in. You have to take an insane amount of bad news with a smile on your face. And you're also allowed to go outside and yell real loud and scream into a pillow if you want. Whatever you got to do, bro, figure it out. But when you're the only one who's responsible for it, it really does give you this almost super, when I say I blacked out for the first year, I'm not kidding, dude. I legit yep. We can do that for you. Yep, we'll take care of that. Yep, we'll do it. I mean, this is a crazy story. For the first probably year I was open, my buddies in Indy, I have a group of my besties in Indy, they ordered every week. And so gas was $1.25, which is, there's no reason gas shouldn't always be $1.25. Let's get that on the record. Can we fucking stop it, please? Thank you. Talk about folks who have enough money. Holy smokes. When gas $1.25, I would make them their food. I would put it in coolers with ice packs, and I would drive my happy ass from Columbus, Ohio to Indianapolis every week. And it was COVID, so we would all meet in my buddy's front yard, and I would set their meals down and walk away, and each one would come get their meals, and we'd shoot the shit and have, they would have a beverage, and I would drink a sparkling water. And we'd talk to each other for 45 minutes, and then I'd drive home. And then the next day I would drive down to Cincy because I had 4 or 5 clients down there that would spend $100. And I would do that every single week for about a year. My aunt, Cynthia, and Uncle John, I love you very much for ordering as much as you did. I had a couple of vegan clients down there that spent a ton of money. So I just literally never said no to business, even if I knew it wasn't the optimal net profit ratio because of the driving. But I mean, when you own a business, especially when you're starting one, all you got is time, bro. So I was paying myself, maybe a couple bucks an hour, you know what I mean? Or negative money an hour, but it gave me reps. It got the word out. And really cool thing, Suzanne and Larry and Christina have all ordered. They were literally in our first, and Sam and Kara, they were in our first 10 clients we ever had. Like I can look up their order numbers and it's like, 14, order number 23, and they still order to this day. And it's cool. We've formed a fun relationship with them and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, that was it. Like you say no, but like it had to be worse than driving to Indianapolis every week. You know what I mean? Like I just said yes to any business. We partnered with a gym in like Marion. I was driving to Marion every week, which is not a fun drive. 23 is the worst highway in America. Shout out 23, please stop. It needs 38 lanes and no traffic lights. I don't know how to fix it. I'm sorry, Lewis Center in Delaware, but Jiminy Christmas, it's so bad. So yeah, I don't know, man. Everything went wrong. Anything you can imagine went wrong. 1 week, the wonderful folks came to us and were like, you have to be out of this rental kitchen that you pay for tomorrow and can't use it for 3 weeks. Yup.
Okay.
Wild stuff. So I just couldn't operate for a couple weeks. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just everything that went wrong. We tried to take a week off one time for vacation, like the first year we were open, and we went from doing like $3,000 a week in sales to like 1,100 because people were pissed that like they couldn't get their food from us for a week. And I don't know if they were pissed. It gave them an opportunity to go to somebody else.
Yeah.
So we've been open, aside from the 2 weeks, we've been open every single week since.
Something, I'll just use the word fascinating. I also just want to say cool. That you do is
I like it.
Like, and I understand this is a part of business. Like I've done this in so many different ways. I think about this all the time. I get it. But I feel like you are so great at forming friendships and partnerships. And like, I understand that probably some of that's from like, I want to help people and I want to give. And also it's a part of growing business and
Sure.
you get these networks and all this sort of stuff. But like, I literally just feel like that is one of the coolest things that you do. And I guess probably does the business probably not operate if you don't form all these partnerships and friendships, right? Like, and I guess my actual question to that is, what did you do to begin doing that? Is it the classic case of, dude, you start DMing and emailing every single entity you'd want to partner with, and you pick the ones that you feel like make the most sense? Or is it just like one door opened and this introduced me to this and that and this and that?
Sure.
And like,
I mean, the friendships thing, I'm just gregarious as fuck. Like, I will talk to you. I'm the most, God, what's the phrase? I'm an extroverted introvert. Like, I have to recharge or I'll die after so long. But, like, you put me in a room at a party and I'll talk to every single fucking person. I'm an introvert's worst nightmare.
The moment you and I met, we were best friends instantly.
We were nerding out.
You were like, heard you liked wrestling. And I'm like, yup. And then we talked for an hour.
I'm so sad this entire podcast hasn't been about wrestling. That'll be part two.
Yes.
Part two.
Yeah, part two.
And you have to ask me about my wrestling story before I leave.
Okay. Noted.
But on the partnerships thing, I hate cold calling so much.
Yeah, and that's even kind of what I'm like looking for, because like I hate that too.
I won't. I honestly, dude, I've had to do it. Like when we've been expanding to Chicago, and like I can start a business from scratch and grow it to like where we got to. And, like, it's fine. Like I said, I'm like, it's just fine. Like, it's whatever. You just figure it out. But, like, cold calling, like, I might be better able to, with no training, climb Mount Everest naked than fucking cold call more than 2 people in a day. Like, if I cold call 2 people, whether they answer, whether they don't answer, it doesn't matter. It is so emotionally draining to me that I like want to throw up thinking about it. And again, I can talk to anybody on the planet. I can do I'm very gregarious and outgoing, and I like to help and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not even selling anything to these partners. I'm literally paying $900 for a fridge to offer a free amenity to their clients. Like there's no sale, and they get $50 in free food a week. Like it's the greatest deal on the planet. And my brain is like, what if they say no and your life's work is stupid?
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally what it is. And so much of it has been natural. I mean, so much of my partnerships has been natural, and has been gym owners reaching out to me. I don't want to bother you. Everyone that's listening, think about when you get cold called, you're furious. hello, I would like to buy the property that none of us own. Why do people think we own these properties and they're calling us to offer us cash for them? We don't own them. Stop it, please, for the love of God.
I'll take the cash, though.
What? Yeah, I'm a jerk. I set up to meet a guy one time in Cincinnati for a property I didn't own because I was furious. But yeah, I hate cold calling, dude. I hate it. But in the beginning, I had to a little bit. I'm so lucky. Our first gym partner, Douglas Wattenshade, the GOAT, owns Delaware Fit Factory in Delaware, surprisingly. Huh. And I think I DM'd him and was like, hey, bro, can I bring you? We went to college together, right? So I already knew him. Great guy. We'd, been in some questionable situations because we were at OU in 04, 05, and 06. So holy smokes. And I was like, hey man, can I bring you food? I saw that you own a gym. That's really badass. It's like, hell yeah. So I brought him food and he's like, bro, this is great. And I forget which one of us was like, can I put a fridge in and just feed your people can order and then we'll deliver their orders to the fridge? Like, fuck yeah, that's a great. One of us, whoever the other one was like, fuck yeah, that's sweet. So I bought a fridge and put it in and the rest is history. And then after that, Jen Rubin Koenig, Jen, I'm so sorry. I don't remember your maiden name because my brain is mush right now. But Jen is the GOAT. She owns Century Body. She was the second one. And then it just kind of all went from there. Mike Walters at Chalk Dust, I think, was probably number 3. The Walters that own Chalk Dust Fitness up there in Powell are wonderful human beings and terrifyingly badass and good at CrossFit. Rudy Berger, the back-to-back defending 40 to 45-year-old world CrossFit champ, works out there, and we fed him for 3 years, and him and his wife are the nicest folks. I got to see him win at the CrossFit Games in Madison last year. It was badass.
What a name.
Rudy Berger?
Yeah.
His real name is Reindeer, bro. He's...
Reindeer?
Bro, Reindeer Burger is that's his Instagram handle, is Reindeer Burger. I'm sure his real name's Rudy. I don't know. But he's and he's the nicest. You'd never know in a million years.
Rudy Berger is
that he's the most fit human being on the planet.
He's like the cool kid at school in a Back to the Future movie.
Yes, for real.
Oh, that's Rudy Berger.
But not a bully. He's he's the nice one. Yes.
Nice
I know exactly which. Yeah. No, he's that. And then you meet him and his wife, and they are that way. Nicest human beings.
Sorry,
on the
I interrupted again with something stupid.
You can interrupt me please do it. So yeah, and then it's those, folks from those gyms or our home delivery clients or whoever would be like, hey, you need to talk to this gym owner. Mm-hmm. Or I would get a phone call like, hey, I own this gym and so told me your stuff is awesome. Like, how do I get a fridge? How much do I have to pay for the fridge? And so you ask about what does it take to be good and do good, right? So if somebody asked me about, the fridge, and they're like, how much do I have to pay? If I was a scumbag, I'd be like, $700. But instead I'm like, oh no, it's free. And then they're like, oh my God, what? And then it's about the relationship moving forward, right? It's not about winning that $700 or $800. It's like, hey, we're going to do the right thing all the time.
So again, even though you and I operate the same in that way, where I'm like, how can I just do good and make a thing and cultivate this amazing friendship and culture and all this sort of stuff?
Yeah.
The business part of my brain also kicks in and says, then how is it a sustainable model to give away free fridges to a gym or a place anywhere and then hope that they order and stuff? How?
But then that's on me though, right? I'm not just putting the fridge in and then being like, peace out. And I will say to the gym owner, I'll be like, hey, I need your help telling your people that this is awesome, that this is a great solution. And I've had gyms, we've pulled fridges out of gyms.
Yeah, right.
A bunch. Yeah. Because it's just not working. And it's whatever reason. And I've had people like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, y'all don't want the food. You don't have to buy the food. I've had friends that have stopped ordering and they're like, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, what? Thank you for giving me money in exchange for food even one time. It's fine. But it's up to me, right? I'm not just going to give them a fridge and let it sit there. Right. I'll let it sit there for a couple weeks. I'll do a tasting. I'll pass some stuff out. I'll do some flyers, blah, blah, blah. I hate marketing. I spend very little money. What little money I do, I make my own stuff in Canva and put it out on Meta. We're all just so over marketed to fucking, man, everything is an ad. I was trying to watch YouTube videos last night, bro.
When I tell you the greatest thing that I have done in recent history for myself, I subscribed to YouTube Premium.
No way. Okay.
Because I was I was doing some cost cutting, personal costs, right? And I was like, what streaming services do I not really get on?
Yes.
Let me get rid of those. Where do I spend the most of my time?
Brilliant.
I spend most of my time watching YouTube. I have become a YouTube person, right?
It's the best media.
It really is. It really is.
I love it.
And so I was like, let me trade these other streaming services that I don't really give that much time to, and then I'll subscribe to the one that I'm on the most, because the one that I'm on the most is also the most annoying to me because it's ads every fucking 2 minutes.
So bad.
So
They are bullying you into getting that subscription.
oh, it worked, and that's why, no joke, that is why I held off from subscribing to YouTube Premium for so long, because I was like, fuck you guys, I know what you're
their
doing.
game.
I know what they're doing.
Well, and you remember the golden age when there were barely any ads.
Yes.
Or where there were no ads.
And
it was just a bunch of dudes sitting around being like, we're going to make it so everybody can watch movies on the internet.
Yep. What if everyone could have a TV channel and it was on this website? Like, and then so yes, their bullying method definitely worked, but I will openly say
It's worth it?
I feel so and I'm not, this isn't an exaggeration to be funny. I feel so less advertised to
Really?
getting rid of ads on YouTube.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to go home. I'm going to leave this podcast studio and I'm going to go subscribe to YouTube and I will report back.
You hear that, YouTube? You should sponsor this show because I just got you another sale.
You should. No, for real. And you can trace it. What's my name on YouTube? Yogi Taught Shade, maybe? Something?
Watch for it. Watch for it.
Something Halo related.
But no, yeah, for real. Obviously, Instagram and every other social platform is filled with ads, every other post. But
Sure.
Again, when I would watch things, it was mostly on YouTube. And man, I see so many less ads, and it feels so much better.
I need that.
Because you don't have to race. I got real good, like a millisecond hitting
Oh.
the skip button.
Oh, it's like
I
you could compete in like a DDR or like whatever
should
the
be in the
keyboard one
Olympics.
is. It really should.
Like how skip button.
Skip.
Yeah.
And they make it. I think they make it smaller every year or something. I mean, it's brutal. Oh, now you got to answer the questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which of these brands have you noticed in an
my God.
advertisement
I'm like,
in the
don't
last?
ask me questions. Don't give me a test right now.
Leave
I'm
me
trying to
alone.
watch this streamer
Right.
play GTA roleplay.
I'm
What are
trying to
you
eat an
doing?
entire sleeve of Oreos and not care about anything right now.
Stop
Please
doing-
leave me alone.
You know, one of the worst ad inventions that has happened recently that I think is such a stupid thing.
What?
Is on streaming services, they will ask you which ad you want to watch
Yes.
rather than playing it.
I will. I want to throw
Dude.
like the television out of the window.
That is-
Like which you choose. This isn't a choose your own adventure, bro.
It's one of the most insane
Get out of my
dystopian things.
Get out.
I'm like, because what they'll do is the choice of your ads plays for about 15 to 20 seconds before it just chooses one for you. And I'm like, you just added 15 to 20 seconds of nothingness.
Not sustainable.
Just play your ad.
Not so I can turn the volume down and do something else for
Like,
15 seconds.
my God. And of
Stop
course, it's probably also, they're probably trying to make it worse as possible. So then you subscribe to the premium, you pay more, and Netflix can charge then $50 for Netflix every month instead of the 20 to
Don't
whatever
get
they're
me
doing
started. We could sit here and it could be a dystopian rant on how every sector of entertainment and eating and sleeping under a roof has become shitty. But we're going to talk about cool shit and stuff.
Yes, we're going to talk about giving people food and hooking people up and
Yeah.
freaking doing cool things and starting cool
Well,
businesses.
and still like living a fun, cool life, man. Like I don't, I'm not this like I said, I'm not this holier than thou. I hate cause marketing. I hate all that stuff. Like I really don't talk about it a ton. But I still have a great life, man. I get to go to wine country in a couple weeks in Oregon and see Seattle for the first time in my life and hang out with my awesome girlfriend. I mean, half the week I'm in Chicago, half the week I'm in Dublin, freaking Ohio. You know what I mean? So you can still lead a really great, fulfilling life as long as you're grateful for what you have, as long as you're not constantly letting the media tell you that you need a fucking Porsche or you need a house on Murfield or you need blah, 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 blah. Like you can be perfectly happy with like a modest, like fun life. And it's way more fulfilling to me that my people get to save money and, get their own apartment when they're, 19 years old or whatever the heck. Then I bought a new car every 3 years and blah blah blah. Like I don't know. I'm weird.
If and when you ever venture into wanting to market a brand more, promise me we will talk.
Oh, of course. You get dibs.
Because if I could ever work for you in doing that, I would be so
dibs.
happy.
I was going to ask you about that after the podcast. We'll just do it on the pod.
Well,
you literally. So my friends, they said something cool to me. Kara, one of the first clients ever, my great buddy since middle school, Sam's wife. She's probably one of the baddest bees in the state of Ohio. She's awesome. She's got a crazy job. I won't embarrass her on here, but we were drinking. And, I was bitching about how I hate cold calls and sales and marketing. And she goes, John, you're not selling. Like, you are solving a fucking problem for people, bro. She's like, you have to look at it as you're just solving a problem. You just need to get in front of the people who want that problem solved. She's like, you charge way less than going out to eat. We're fucking cheaper in McDonald's anymore. I mean, where else can you get a fully balanced, macroed out protein, like more protein than starch or veggies meal that's sauced and made from scratch for $10?
Dude, whenever I've ordered Fit Fresh, I'm not joking. Even though I knew I knew what it was, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You're just programmed now that when you go to hit that checkout and it calculates everything,
that it's going to be $1 billion. Yeah.
It's like the meal is $10, but then it's going to end up being $35 somehow.
Right.
And every time I've ordered, I'm like, wait.
No hidden fees.
I'm like, it stays 10. It's just $12 for the. I'm like,
yeah,
this is incredible. Like,
dude.
I get shocked every time I've ordered it because I'm like, wait a minute, this is just how it is.
When you go to a place and they're charging you the 3% for the credit card fee and shit, I'm like, oh my God. I get because there's no hidden fees. And that's the way it should be. America, listen here. We need to stop nickel and diming everyone into just obsolescence.
I think we should just run for president and vice president.
Done. I'm in.
I think once we're 90.
We have to hit the minimum age threshold of 89 and a half, dude. Holy shit.
Yeah.
But seriously, I think the next couple years could be pretty cool. I think if the folks that are running that are I hope win actually get their way and they try and alleviate some of the stressors that we have been talking about and make things a little bit easier on first-time home buyers and stop trying to take people's rights away and blah, blah, blah. I think America could have a comeback.
We'll freaking see.
Not that it's still not a wonderful place to live, because it is. It is for a lot of folks and it isn't for a lot of folks. And hopefully we can focus on the ones that definitely need some help. And need some of that. So.
Vote for us.
Vote for Ross and John.
20.
What's our slogan, bro?
Live, laugh, love.
Live, laugh, love, dude. Can you imagine? We're making T-shirts. We're calling a small local T-shirt printer, and it's gonna be Ross and John.
Here's the
2046. I'm just throwing out a fucking number, and it just says "Live, laugh, love."
I'm a graphic designer. I can do this.
Let's go.
And we got Megan at the gym.
She
will do this.
Will she print them?
I bet she would.
All right, cool. We're gonna wear these. You have to wear them to like 1 wad a week for a while, and I'll wear them. I'll come back and do a wad.
Literally will.
I'll take my chubby butt back to Gahanna CrossFit.
I will absolutely.
And do a wad because that place rules.
And we're just in our shirts.
Huge the shirts. And I'm going to get, I bought a couple of, what are the 4-inch inseam shorts that are real popular. I got a couple of those.
I rock those all the time.
Yeah, same. I almost rocked a pair of those today, but I had to look respectable. So.
I had some on earlier because I came here from the gym. And then I was like, no, I can't do a podcast in these bright yellow
with the knee socks. You know what I mean? What's with the Gen Z and they don't like the ankle socks?
Yeah, they make fun of us for wearing ankle socks now.
Let them. I don't care. We're old as shit, dude. We don't care. You make fun of me. I'm like the most bulletproof human being on the fucking planet.
Yeah, I don't care at all. When I was little, if you had socks that went above the top of your shoe,
sure,
everyone was like, "You nerd!
What a dork!"
Yeah.
Wow, buy these socks.
And now it's like, yo, if those aren't knee high, what are you doing?
It's all just a ploy by Big Sock to sell more socks.
Oh my God, let's talk about
Big Sock is really sticking it to everybody,
and that can be one of our other stances when we run.
Yes,
is we're gonna take down Big Sock.
Instead of a chicken in every pot, you know what I mean? Socks in every drawer. And then I feel like that's really strong. Ask me about the time that I was on U18 professional wrestling on public access cable.
So is this your wrestling story?
This is it.
Please tell me.
Apropos of nothing.
What is this?
I'm very ADD, so obviously this is how this works. So when I was, I don't know, let's call it 10 to the age of like 15 and a half, 16, there was a group of us in the neighborhood. There was Kyle Winter, there was Doug Alt, there was Ben Brewer, and there was Jared Liggett.
It'd be funny if you were like, and a guy named John Cena.
Right. Dun, dun,
My
dun,
neighbor.
dun. He just kicks through the window. That'd be incredible. So there was a bunch of us, and we, like everyone our age at the time, loved professional wrestling, and so we practiced it. But we didn't just like hit each other with light bulbs and chairs and stuff. No. We would like drag. We would go find futon mattresses and like build our own pseudo rings and like drag them outside. I specifically remember Kyle doing like a frog splash off of the roof of his house in the Foxborough neighborhood. Like, and we were like, actually, like, I know everybody says this, but we were like pretty good. Like, we could do some cool moves. We were pretty athletic. I mean, I weighed maybe $158. I could run 1,000,000,000 miles in 0 time. Like, we were in good shape and we could do cool stuff. So Kyle, being the enterprising human he was, found a U18 pro wrestling league in downtown. I don't remember where.
What is U18? What is that?
Under 18. So it was literally for
Okay.
like under 18 kids.
A pro wrestling group?
Yes, they had a real ring. I'm not making this up. This is real. My mom has what I'm about to tell you recorded somewhere on a mini cassette from the little handheld camcorders back then. She says she can't find it, which is criminal. We're gonna get it onto like a CD or like a, what are they called now with
YouTube.
the memory stick? It's gonna be on YouTube. I'm gonna find. This is the impetus, Mom. We're gonna get this. So long story short, Kyle signed us up. And so there would be practice once a week, and as we literally couldn't drive. So my mom would drive us down there, or his mom would drive us down there, and they would drop us off, and we would have practice. And Kyle and I had our own 3-minute match, and were allowed to be a part of the Royal Rumble. And the practice was the greatest thing that has ever happened, because we were 15 and we went from doing swanton bombs off a roof onto a mattress to like getting to be in a real ring. And let me tell you, yes, wrestling is scripted, obviously. But that shit hurts. The ropes alone are like, it's like steel cord. It's like a rope. Like, it hurts when you bounce off it. And there's a lot of stuff that hurts, but it's really cool. And so we had a 3-minute long match on public access cable. Kyle was the heel. He was high class Winston Potter the fourth.
Wow. Okay. Long name.
He wore
Very
a sweater vest and like actual khaki pants in the ring. He was so good, and he was way better than I was. He was amazing. Great character, really good at like actual like wrestling moves. And I was the Tornado Pete Laredo.
Oh.
And my finishing move was called the F5, which Brock Lesnar, you owe me royalties because you stole that idea from me, obviously.
Dude, come on.
Especially because I was tornado themed and he had nothing to do with the tornado. So why would he call it the F5?
Yeah, that doesn't make. He stole that.
Hillbilly.
From me. Yeah. What's he going to start a company called Fit Fresh next?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, he's living the dream. If you haven't seen pictures
He's just
of him
hiding
lately,
on a farm.
He is in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming, just drunk as a skunk, just having a blast. Good for him. But anyway, so we had a 3-minute long match, and I won, and then we were in the Royal Rumble, and the rest is history. And after that, like once we were on the thing, we were like, Like, I stopped watching professional wrestling within like 3 months.
Like, cool, I got to experience a solid version of it. I'm out.
No, literally. I was like, well, I'm obviously at the top of this craft. I've achieved everything anyone could ever achieve in the sport.
Call me for the Hall of Fame soon.
Yeah. Just put the trophy. No, it really, once I got to do it, I was like, all right, that was, and I mean, if I say that there were 35 people that watched this taping, that might be embellishing slightly. And it was all of our like family and friends. But it was very cool. I don't remember anybody's name except for Jabari, whose finishing move was the biscuit bomb. He weighed 400 pounds and was like 6'4" at the age of like 16 or 17. He was awesome. But it was fun. That is
incredible. Getting to even go to the school. Absolute dream of mine at 15 years old.
Oh, like, dude, it was life-changing.
Because I think we've talked about this at the gym. I may have told you my best wrestling friend growing up in school, the only other person who like loved it as much as I did. Mm-hmm. His dad was a part of like the Carney circuit. Oh. And so he got access to a very rudimentary, but a wrestling ring.
That's where wrestling got started, y'all.
Exactly.
It's the folks traveling around. Yeah, let's go.
And so, his dad got us. We didn't get to spend a bunch of time in it because I feel like a couple years after that is when like real high school years started, and then it starts becoming like, is this a career path, or is this just like a thing that we secretly did for a while? And
do
now
I
we're
want
not people
to know that I'm into this?
Exactly.
Or do I? Don't perceive me. Yeah. High school's brutal.
And then going over to the friend's house to wrestle and book a card and do a pay-per-view and all this sort of stuff becomes way less cool than this friend's having a party at their house and you should come play Call of Duty and blah blah blah.
Bro, it's gonna be so sick.
But for the time being,
the
also
pay-per-views, dude.
We got to practice bumps in the ring and do all the stuff.
It hurts.
It does.
It does not feel good.
No. And what's funny? What's because we were very similar in we didn't do the like classic backyard wrestling stuff with like light tubes and all the crazy stuff.
Yeah.
we yes, we would just emulate stuff, but we would do like training sessions for ourselves.
Yes.
We would go out and be like,
exactly.
Because I had watched more than enough of the documentaries growing up of like the Hardy Boys and all this sort of stuff.
You would have like a list of moves we were going to practice that day,
100%.
and that's what we would do.
We would make our own
until
drills.
we could do it.
We would make our own drills based off of stuff we had seen in behind the scenes footage. And so we would practice bumps, we would practice rolls, we would practice feeding for things, we would practice like hitting the ropes, like all this
how
sort
to
of
signal
stuff.
each other like in the middle of the match.
Literally,
like all of like the little pinches and the taps.
And I'm sure that like now if it were a thing, we were probably all really terrible, but it felt like we were actually like, of course not TV ready, but like good for what we were doing at like 14 years old.
Hey,
of like,
kids, we need an extra for the Royal Rumble. Get in here. And you would have been like, well, I mean, obviously you want me. I'm ready. Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, just so you know, I'm not jobbing a big show tonight. Put me on top.
That's an incredible
I'm not going if I'm not going over.
It's an incredible reference just for anyone out there who doesn't know wrestling. That was like A+ shit right there.
I know far too much.
Oh my God.
But like we took it seriously. We cared, and it was like, well, let's not kill ourselves doing this. So how do we not get super hurt, and how do we not get super fucked up? And
very important.
We literally would go out and learn how to call spots and call like. And between that best friend and my little brother, who I de facto trained to wrestle on our trampoline.
Because you needed an extra.
Yes.
Like if your friend
somebody
was
else.
busy, if they were sick, yes.
In that form, I feel like I have wrestled hundreds of matches.
Yes.
I feel like I have
You could go out there tonight with
hundreds of matches.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually really... You would be an incredible wrestling announcer. I need you to figure out a way.
I'm not joking when I say that is a thing that's in the back of my mind that I've been trying to kind of scope out independence for.
Columbus, we need you to support this.
If they need some sort of announcer, because I feel like I sat the dream of being an actual wrestler aside a handful of years ago.
For health reasons.
There's still time that I could, but I'm like, here's an interesting thing, actually. This ties into all the business talk we've been doing. I've listened to so many podcasts and interviews about, of wrestlers and what it takes to make it, and the politics you got to play sometimes. And
steroids.
It's same exact thing as business, right?
Yeah.
Where like
cocaine.
There's people who back in the day, but there's people who are those people who make it to the top, like a Hulk Hogan is, notoriously a shitty human being.
Just the fucking worst.
If
you idolize Hulk Hogan, we need to talk.
Yeah, but the most famous, one of the most famous wrestlers ever, right? And there's that balance that a lot of wrestlers talk about in interviews where they're like, oh yeah, so-and-so, made it to the top because like I didn't step on people the way I should have. Like wrestlers will openly talk about that of like, I didn't make it further because I didn't take enough chances. I didn't cold call essentially enough, right?
Like business.
And literally,
I didn't compromise my morals. Chaperone talked about that the other day. Did you hear that interview with Chapel?
I didn't, but I've been seeing stuff pop up about like her, like, I mean, obviously in general.
She basically said you can either, in show business, which wrestling is very much that,
100%.
You can either have a good life or be successful. And the way, how'd she phrase it? She goes, you can either be good mentally, like you can be in a good spot mentally, or you can compromise your morals and make bad choices and have a great career.
Which did she say that she did?
I think she said that she's doing it good.
She's like, and I've killed several people.
Right, exactly. She's like, there's literally a dead body in my trunk. No, I think she said, she's like, it's taken her forever to get to where she is. I mean, she literally recently was like busking in Chicago, like a couple years ago.
It's worked. It's worked. She's huge.
She's huge, and she deserves it, and she's super sweet. And I actually met one of the bodybuilders that was on stage with her at Lala, works at the new gym partner we have in Chicago, and I got to meet her, and I'm like, what was it like? And she's like, real life is weird now. She's like, it was the coolest fucking thing. Yeah. She's like, I'm literally like on stage, like looking out, being like, what the?
That's so cool. That's cool. I love. Yeah, she did just come out dressed as a wrestler on her performance there. Yeah.
I think your next guest should be Chapel Roan. If I run into her,
please connect us.
Chapel, we need you.
Otherwise,
what are you doing?
I call her Roni. We're close enough. I call her Roni.
just like this, actually, from day one.
Yeah,
since day one.
But yeah, it is that idea though, right?
You have to make bad choices.
Yeah, and I've heard the short of this is, I don't actually know if I could have and could truly make it in the wrestling business because I do not think I can sell myself enough and politic enough, even if I was really, really good. Because I have seen,
100%.
Just as I'm sure you have, plenty of amazing professional wrestlers that could have and should have been stars on TV that just did not,
Jr.
likely because of the lack of politicking, the lack of all this sort of stuff.
Sure.
And that's a very legitimate reason that I'm like, man, I don't actually think I could do it because I don't know if I have it in me to cold call promoters and get on indie shows and to,
Sure.
sell in this way and all this sort of stuff.
You have to want it fucking bad. I mean, and that's, I don't know what it was, like why I was finally able to do it, this way. And I probably could have done it more and we could have been bigger than we already are. You know what I mean? Like way sooner and way faster. I just didn't want to. I wanted it to be organic and I wanted it to fucking I never wanted to outgrow our space before we were ready and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I mean, you really are kind of presented with, what am I comfortable doing? And I think maybe I did that subconsciously when I was kind of planning everything. As I was like, what am I comfortable doing? Am I comfortable cold calling? Not really. But if I have, like when I'm desperate, I'll do it when I need to drum up some business. And then you I would like talk to myself out loud, psych myself up for it. Like literally like, bro, it's okay. Like if they say no, it doesn't mean, because somebody asked me about this recently. Like, well, why not? Aren't you proud of what you do? And I was like, yeah, I'm really proud of what we do. I think it's cool as shit. But it's my life's work. It's like literally every lesson I've ever learned and every job I've ever had and every interaction I've ever had, I'll distill down into, hey, we're going to make food for people. And then the brand is me, right? And like you can't get away from that as much as you want to. Like I represent it, right? And so like even if someone doesn't call me back and I've left a message, that's them telling me that my idea is stupid.
Right.
And I mean, you're like...
Yeah.
And so for years, I've dabbled with hiring a salesperson. And when Chicago gets big enough, I think that's where I'm going to do it. I'm going to hire one in Chicago so they can handle deliveries and stuff. So it's not me and blah, blah, blah. But I'm excited to see what someone who isn't tied so emotionally, like their entire being isn't tied to the selling of the business. I'm excited to see what somebody like that can do. And I mean, they will literally, I'm not going to tell them they can't cold call because obviously that's why like I would fucking hire somebody to do it. But I'm going to be like, if you're creepy or gross or like annoying,
you still got to fit the culture of what this brand is.
Correct.
Like, you still got to, yeah. And that's what's hard about all that stuff is like, man, here's me extending a piece of myself to somebody else.
Yes.
And they might not care about it, and they don't mean harm in that.
No, and it's their right to not care about it. That's just totally. We're not. You can't make art for every person in the world.
No, you're not going to make everybody happy. Not everybody's going to want what you want. Like,
right.
And that, like, for me, it's like when I think about how I do business, how I do creative, or how I would approach even professional wrestling, I think is I'm like, I see how I do all of this other stuff and how I can be very okay. Like when I look at life and business, I am dangerously okay with taking back to the chaperone thing. Like, do you want like just a nice life that's good, or do you want to be fucking whatever? I dangerously am attached to just a chill, cool life where I get to do cool things and I hope it's successful.
But like, why has America made you believe that that's bad? Like,
exactly, right.
Like,
right.
And that's one of the things that's crazy to me is like, we talk about over-marketed to and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like we're all getting better about it. But it's like, if you don't have that home on Murfield and you're not driving a Porsche and you're not buying a Rolex.
500,000 followers.
And you're not going to the steakhouse and 500,000 followers. And you're not, out here shilling for Nike and blah, blah, blah.
And creating content every day. Selling every day.
I got to tell you, the creatives in my life, I love y'all. I don't know how you do it. I would be an absolute mess. You guys are, like you said, literally putting your life's work and yourselves out there every minute of every day, and you're trying to monetize your passions and your hobbies and blah, 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 and it sucks. So shout out to all y'all who are out there hustling and trying to do it every day. And again, like the rejection is brutal. Yeah. It's brutal, especially as you see your costs go up. Right. So like the minute you've secured enough business, you're like, hey, I'm going to be able to pay for stuff this year. That next year is like, no, you're not. Everything's 40% more. And it's a terrifying place to be. So right. You guys are all very badass. And I envy is not the right word, but I'm impressed by a lot of creatives in my life who do this for a living. And it's cool. You guys are.
Something I do want to ask you before we begin to get into a wrap up here. Sure. Because otherwise I know we'll talk for 6 hours. We can't.
Literally.
I want to make sure I ask this, and it probably should have been a question way earlier. But, we're talking about like what's personal to us and extending, taking things that you love and making things out of them and sharing them with other people. I want to know, like, where does the love for cooking and food even come from with you?
When I was 10 years old, I watched an episode of Japanese Iron Chef with my uncle Ozzy Thorson. And I watched Hiroyuki Sakai wearing like this crazy satin red chef outfit. and a super tall red satin chef hat that was gilded. He peeled an apple in 4 seconds, and my brain went, and then I watched the whole episode. I obviously didn't understand a word. It was all in subtitles. Maybe it was dubbed. I can't remember. And I looked at my uncle and I said something like, I'm going to do that. And I just pointed to the TV. And after that, I would come home from middle school and I would cook. I'm doing the bunny ears with my hands. No recipe, no nothing. I would just like throw stuff in a pan and kind of combine things and taste flavors and blah, blah, blah. And my parents, shout out, dude. It's the most, I was a very difficult kid to raise. I'm very ADHD. I was always all over the place. I hated school. I never wanted to sit still. And they would, like, if they would travel for work, they would buy a cookbook from wherever that city was and bring it back and give it to me. And if I wanted ingredients, they would go to the store and buy. Like, when I say I had, like, every advantage possible, like, even though we weren't super rich, like, I have the greatest parents that have ever lived. And if they ever hear this, holy smokes, you guys rule. And you wonder why I go to Chicago to hang out with my mom every week. But, I mean, I knew, like, I'm so lucky that I knew when I was 10. I'm like, I want to do that. And it was kind of sort of before like the big celebrity chef thing. And I feel like that's even kind of tapering off already, which is good because celebrity chefs, oh my God. If I ever like can't walk into a place without people like knowing who I am, I'm going to freak out. You know what I mean? Like, thank you. Zero desire. But yeah, that's where it started. And I still love to cook. I mean, my friends ask me that. They're like, do you ever get sick of it? I'm like, fuck no, dude. Like my staff I'm very lucky. I have an incredible staff. Seth is the greatest. I actually just got to hire my old manager from when I was 18 at Katzinger's. He's my director of ops now.
That's awesome.
He's the best manager I ever had.
So sick.
Dude, he's the GOAT. And just wonderful human being, very quiet, very detailed, great with people, incredible eye and nose or whatever for flavor. I've actually gotten a lot of compliments and emails and comments from clients that the food tastes a lot better since I hired Seth, and they don't know that Seth is there. They've just said, man, it's gotten a lot better. So thanks for that, jerk. But yeah, I don't get to cook in the kitchen a lot anymore just because I have a big staff that takes care of it for me, but I still cook for my friends all the time. I cook for my girlfriend and I at home all the time. Cook for my, parents, everybody. It'll never go away, even as it's kind of gotten commercialized, which knock on wood. Yeah, I hope there's never a day where I'm like, fuck, I don't want to cook that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or like, fuck, I want to stop learning. No, I don't want to learn new flavors. No, I don't want to do, blah, blah, blah. So, I'm unbelievably lucky that, that I get to do something I'm passionate about every day. Right. Mm-hmm. And help other people do something they're passionate about every day. So yeah, I don't know, man. Life is cool. I actually legit, I think gratitude's a really big part of it. You asked earlier, like, how do you fucking do it? And it's like, you have to, no joke. And Brittany, my girlfriend, will tell you this is true. At least once a day, I say out loud, like, I'm really lucky. You know what I mean? Or like, hey babe, we're like really lucky we get to do this. Or hey, this is really cool we get to do this. And I used to do it the first 2 or 3 years. I haven't thought about this in a long time. The first 2 or 3 years, I'd make sure that I would say it twice a day, every day. I would say it once when I got to do something really cool, or we got like a compliment from a client that was like, oh my God, I love your food, or oh my God, this makes it better. But I would also make sure to say I'm really lucky when I had to do something shitty. Like, oh, I forgot a bag in the cooler after driving all the way to Marion, from Dublin, and I didn't realize it until I got all the way back, and it's 7:30 p.m. on a snowy night. I'm getting right back in that car and driving back to Marion. You know what I mean? And I'm going to refund the customer because they didn't get their shit. I would make sure to say, hey, I'm really lucky that I get to have this problem.
Man, that's huge.
Yeah, it was wild. And I don't know where I picked that up from or like whatever, but like for real, that thought process and like that mantra, like that has gotten me through a lot of like real shitty days. Because driving all the way back to Marion at 7:30 p.m. like during the holidays when it's snowy sucks.
Yeah.
I love people in Marion. They're all super sweet, but that was not a fun drive.
Would that be a piece of advice that you would give if I'm going to give you a 2-part question?
Sure.
First part is think of when you may have been at your lowest. That can be business or personal. Doesn't matter. Sure. Either one. So think of that first.
Okay.
And the second part is imagine someone comes to you in that position, in that state of mind that you were in at that point in time where you were. what are you telling them? What would you share with them? Does it have to do with gratitude, or does it have to do with something else?
It totally depends on the situation. Because if you're talking about somebody who's in like an abusive relationship or something like that, I mean, gratitude doesn't even, get into it, right? It's, hey, figure out what the hell you can do to get yourself out of that situation immediately. Call a friend, go stay with them, figure some shit out. Whatever you need to do, whatever resources you got. And if you don't have anybody around you because you're in a strange city, go to get professional help somewhere and call them and tell them, please don't stay. I stayed in a pretty bad emotional sitch for longer than I should have. And that was, you said my lowest. I mean, at least in the last 5 years, that was definitely it, was, being in a relationship that was very troubling and really bad mentally and emotionally. And I got out, and it's the best decision I ever made. So, but if you're talking about purely professionally, gratitude's everything, man. And this is what I used to be the guy when I worked for Hy-Vee. I would get so worked up and frustrated and pissed off, and, not everything was everybody else's fault, because I've always, like, when I fuck up, I'll be like, man, I was stupid. I made that mistake. You know what I mean? This is how we're going to fix it. Or, hey, can somebody please help me fix this? Or, hey, can I get some input? But I would fall into that negative trap. And I feel like so many people get whether it's, the people around them at work or just their situation or their boss or whatever, just getting fucking sucked in. Like, nothing is worse than having to clock in at a place that just drains your soul every day, bro. So, use gratitude to realize you're in a bad spot. And then say, hey, what am I thankful for at this job? And if you can find enough stuff to say, hey, this is maybe worth it, then stay. But be positive as shit every day. Be like, I don't care. I'm going to be positive today. Yes, like we talked about, shit is going to go wrong. Things are not going to be perfect. I'm going to have to do things because somebody else made a mistake or I made a mistake, and I have to be okay with that. Or say, there's not enough shit to keep me here. So still stay positive while you're there. Don't be an asshole. Go find something else. And I know that in today's job market, how rude of me to just be like, well, just go door to door with your resume. Like, I'm not saying that. You know what I mean? But, like, if you're in a spot that is making you fucking miserable every single day, you got to figure something out. You know what I mean? And it's maybe look outside what you've always kind of traditionally done or whatever. I don't want to, like, preach to anybody and give any advice, but I don't know. Gratitude's tough when the job market sucks. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right, or you're in a wildly oversaturated, business and blah, blah, blah. It's tough. But I will tell you, in my personal experience, gratitude's gotten me through a lot of really shitty situations. Silver lining is big. Yeah. And I worry about being toxically positive sometimes.
It's tough, yeah.
Because there's a lot of folks, somebody's got a case of the Mondays. I reference that all the time. That lady from Office Space, just the worst. Toxically positive. Get away from me, Brenda. Like, don't fuck off. I'm having a bad day. And it's okay to have bad days. That's fine. But, I don't know. Find something to be pumped about that day, because going through life sad sucks. Been there.
If I were to ask you, and by that I mean I'm going to, this is me asking you. If I were to ask you what your why is, do you have an answer?
Oh, yeah. I think we've kind of talked about it. I love that my team and I, so it's a two-part answer. My why is my crew, honestly. I love, like I said, I love taking good care of my crew, and they're all really good people. So that's a big why for me. But then I also, I got a super sweet email from a lady today, and she's like, hey, I feel like there's not a lot of positivity out in the world. So I just wanted to email you and tell you, like, you are literally giving me back like 8 to 10 hours of my week every week. She's like, you've literally like changed my life and my husband's life. Like, we both work 50 to 60 hours a week, and like, holy shit, like now we can like spend time together and we can like take care of ourselves instead of just like meal prepping and blah, blah, blah. And like, I fucking almost bawled, dude. Like, I was definitely crying. And like, we get those all the time. And I love sharing them with my team. Like, our reviews on Google, like, man, if I'm ever having a bad day, I'll just go read those. And I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, we're good. So helping people, man, for real. Like, that's what I think. I think making people happy with food is in my Instagram, like, personal bio. Like, that's literally all it says. It's just making people happy with food. And that's it. I like making people happy by making them food. So it's cool. Like I said, I'm very lucky to have found the thing that I think I'm supposed to do. So It's been a long road, bro, but I think we're in a good spot.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. I have one final question for you.
Yes.
And then we will wrap this thing up.
Sure.
So every episode, I end with the same question.
Okay.
So now it's your turn.
All right.
So right now, I want you to pretend that everybody in the world can hear you speak.
Okay.
We're throwing logic out the window. They can
Love
hear
it.
you. They can understand you.
Sure, like Futurama.
Yes. You get this opportunity right now, one time, to share something with everybody everywhere. What are you telling them, and what do you really want them to hear?
That's the best question ever. And I can't do a two-parter, can I?
I mean, you could. It doesn't have to be like a three-word answer.
Gee whiz. Which way do I go? Because there's two totally different ways I want to go. One of them has to do with like our previous conversations about wealth inequality. But that's not like anything cool. Honestly, I would want everyone to know that whoever you are, wherever you are, if you're going through some shit, it's really important that you remember that you have a place in the world, and that, you're important and you matter, and if you're going through some bad stuff, you can always find someone to talk to about it and help you out, and then never let yourself get in a bad space where you feel like there's no good solution. So that's probably what I would say, in a much, sexier and more polished version. But I think mental health is something that we have just fucking let go way by the wayside. And I know there's a lot of folks out there that struggle with it. And, if anybody needs a hug, I'm your guy, or there's somebody out there for you. Yeah, I'm going to go with that because, that's really important to me. That everybody knows that they matter and that they're important. So.
Dude, I am so damn happy we made this happen.
Yeah, me too, dude. Thank you. This is sweet. I know we've been trying to do it for like literally, I think a year or 6 months or 8 months or something.
It's been some
wild.
time.
Sorry, my schedule's full.
No, we aligned schedules. We made it happen. And man, I am just so... Again, I'm stoked we just made a fun podcast, but I'm just stoked that you and I just got to sit and just ramble about all the fun things. We have so many times at the gym and passing.
Yeah, for 3 minutes while I'm like sprinting through.
Hey, good to see you. Who's your favorite wrestler? Also, great. And yeah, I just, man, because you literally are. You're just like, you're such a damn cool dude, and you're doing just such a cool fucking thing. And Fit Fresh is so rad, and like,
it's very sweet.
I'm stoked that we got to take the dive into it, and I'm stoked that the perception and understanding that I had of you out of all of our in-passing conversations, I feel like got more than solidified here. And now anybody who checks this out is going to get to hear those things and understand who you are. And that's just a fucking rad dude.
I'm very bad at taking compliments.
Well,
so if
I
you're
just threw a bunch
listening,
at you.
I'm dying. I'm melting. I can't deal. But no, seriously, man, that's really sweet. And I'm glad I got to talk to you too. I'd love to hang out with you more and kind of figure out, I feel like you and I are kind of kindred spirits. Like you said, when we met, we were both like, that guy is awesome.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those, you meet somebody and their energy, you're just like, that is the person. That's cool.
100%.
So yeah, we
100%.
need to kick it some more and talk about some stuff. And, I think it's neat. You have a really cool perspective in that you similar views to mine, but again, like a different trajectory. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to, hang out more.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
And
man.
we don't always have to make a podcast out of it,
Correct.
Who knew? We can just be friends in real
practice,
life.
Wrestling moves.
That would
and
be, yes.
go to the hospital immediately after. Can you imagine if you tried any of that shit now?
I wonder what it would like. I feel like I would have the most fun day of my entire life now.
And then be dead.
I'm wondering.
I would die. Like my body would absolutely. Oh, dude,
I kind of feel like I would hold up.
Did you say 31 or 32?
31.
All right, you got about 6 more years.
Sorry, I can do that. Yeah.
You got 6 more years, and then your body is like abso-fucking-lutely not.
In the wrestling world, they say late 30s, early 40s is a lot of wrestlers' prime. So maybe I get started right at the prime, except for the fact that I haven't been doing it for 15 years before that, leading up to the prime, like all those people.
Last question: what's your wrestling name?
Oh, I genuinely, I hate to not give you an answer. I couldn't tell you.
Speechless.
I couldn't tell you.
Ladies and gentlemen, speechless. He's good at asking the questions.
Yep. But creating a character right now.
Next episode we'll have one.
Couldn't. Yeah. Next episode will be a flashback to all of our wrestling characters as teenagers.
It's so good.
And then we'll have new ones of who we would be. Do you have one?
We're gonna find the video And the Tornado Pete Laredo.
That would still be you would bring that back.
100%.
Okay.
It was.
Okay.
It rolls off the tongue. It's quick. It's
really
easy.
does.
It doesn't really mean anything. Why is he called the Tornado? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you got an F5 as a finish, no one's asking.
It was a really good neck breaker too. It was super fast. It looked cool. It was like loud. It was easy for anyone to do. I could do it out of a bunch of different situations. We're gonna go build a ring and we're gonna recreate.
Yes. I don't need a studio. I need space to put a wrestling ring in.
Please,
is
when
what
you're,
I need.
when you're
So-
talking to prospective landlords, make sure to mention that. Is
Yes.
this? Can you fit a standard?
Yeah, could I put a 20 by 20 in here? I could probably lower it to like a
Just get the
16 by
tape
16.
measure out, and you're just there like,
Like,
why are you doing a big
okay.
square?
How tall are these ceilings? Do
Yeah.
you think a 450 splash could happen off the top of a top rope in here?
Are you guys
or-
good about removing the drop ceiling tiles?
Yeah, is this cool? Because I
or-
need some. Yeah, I don't want to have any feet going through those.
This is going to be big.
What?
This is going to be very big.
I think I know what each of our new business venture is, and that is starting an independent wrestling promotion.
We just started about 9 businesses in the last hour.
We did, and what's not a joke is I, in the real world, very much want to sit with you and just pick your and actually
No, we're gonna
talk
we're gonna do
many
that. We're gonna
things.
do that for sure. And we're
Because,
gonna run for
yes.
president in 2046.
Yes,
Get your
we
shirts.
are. Live, laugh, and love. There
Thanks,
it is.
folks. Appreciate
There it is.
you.
Hey, real quick, where can people find Fit Fresh? What can they do? Where can they go? How can they find it?
Fitfreshfast.com is our website. All orders are placed through there. Menu changes every single week. Every Monday morning around 11 to noonish, I put up a new menu. You have all the way till Sunday night to place your orders. We have about 30 pickup locations across the state of Ohio, and we do home delivery anywhere from Galena to Galloway and Delaware to Pickerington for just $7. Make everything fresh from scratch every week. We vacuum seal it so it stays fresh in your fridge all week long. We have a bunch of different sizes, regular, large, and extra large. We had to develop to cook for Ohio State. And we're easily the most affordable meal prep in the history of the universe. $9.97 for regular, $11.97 for large, $13.97 for XL. Check us out. Salads, sandwiches, burritos, snacks, you name it. We've got all kinds of stuff. And we would love the opportunity to cook for you guys. So there's my pitch.
Boom. There it is. We made a podcast. And to cap it off, what the Iron Sheik would say, fuck Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. I'll stand behind that all day long.